Hi everyone, it's Diane Morellis with Visions and Traditions Realty. Here we are on July 2nd, and coming up around the corner we've got those fireworks sizzling and the grills going and all of that good stuff happening, and the weather is over 100 degrees. So we've got the pools. Oh my gosh, the pools, holy moly. The pool water is like bath water at this point. So we've really been enjoying it here in Texas. I hope that where you are, it's nice and warm and you're enjoying it as well. While we're here today, we're going to go ahead and talk about the second part of our hurricane preparedness video. And as we get into this, I want you to know that we do have this available for you if you would like a copy of it. And we can, if you will actually do us a favor and like the video and send us your email address, we'll be more than happy to send you a copy of this. And if you want to wait till next week when we finish up and do the third part of this, the final part, if you would like a copy of all of these things that we're talking about, we can send that to you as well. I'm hoping that you're finding this stuff very interesting and helpful. As I was doing the research, I actually found a lot of it helpful as well. You know, you kind of get involved in this stuff and all of a sudden things you kind of go, oh, shoot, I forgot about that. Better add that to the list. So that's kind of where we're at. And that's where today I want to talk about, if you finally, what happens is the weatherman comes out and says, okay, the storm is in the Gulf and it's heading your way, and it's projected it's going to hit tomorrow or in 48 hours, and it's taking this path and that path, and you know, we're at a level 3 or 4 and it is expected to be a 5, and so you know for a fact it's coming your way. One way or another you're going to get something, whether it be the winds, the rain, the sleet, the hail, whatever. You know that you're going to be getting something and you need to go ahead and prepare for it. You've already done the other preparations, so the second part of the preparations when the storm is in the Gulf should be rather easy for you. So we want to remind you that you need to store gallons of water, food, prescriptions, and other supplies needed, and do it per person per day. For those of you that have been through storms before, you know, really it can last about a week. You could be without electricity, or, you know, water could be contaminated or something. So I typically plan for 7 to 10 days. And then pay very special attention to infants, the elderly, and people with disabilities, and access, and if they have access and functional needs. In addition to that, get up in your bathroom. Everybody typically has 2 or 3 bathrooms now, so fill those bathtubs with water. That will come in very, very handy. Fill them up, get them ready. Be sure that you have on hand your books, toys, whatever for the kids to play with. And then identify your own busy work. If you're going to be knitting or reading or you know, doing something on the computer, even though now keep in the back of your mind that you may lose internet access. So, hey David, how are you today? It's good to see you. Keep in the back of your mind that you may lose electricity or internet access, so you may need to do something that's going to require candlelight. And going back to the old days, I wasn't there before electricity, so I'm just saying, it's just, we're going way back to way old days. And then you also want to identify ways to have alternate forms to stay in touch with loved ones, and pick an out-of-town friend or relative to be your contact point. So you know, and your relatives and friends know, that you're contacting this one person and giving them regular updates as you can. And then if they have any questions or whatever, they can just call them directly, because if the phone lines are down, you know, or if the internet's down, you're going to be inaccessible. Keep your important phone numbers with you at all times. You never know what number you're going to need for what or for who. Don't forget to have your plywood boards or your panels or whatever it is that you use to block up your windows or protect your windows, have those out. And actually, by this point, you should already have them out and you should be installing them. Turn off all non-electrical devices. You know that storm's coming and you don't want that power surge coming through the house. And then you want to protect your pets. So if you do have pets, you may want to think about putting the pet with somebody who can take care of it. Hi, Laura, how are you? I was just thinking about you the other day. I just saw on the, got an email from somebody where the, I guess is it Pyrenees dogs sheltered. There was about 3 of them that were on the list, and they're looking for some foster parents. So I was pretty much sign me up. Okay, so onward. And let's see. So we want to be sure that we take care of the pets. Perfect time for you to tune in, Laura. And be sure that you have water and food for your pets, and be sure that you have identification tags for them, and be sure that you have any kind of necessary paperwork for them. Now, remember, certified pets are allowed to stay with the owners. Now, those are service animals. We're not talking about the ones that are just the therapy dogs or the emotional support dogs. I'm sorry, emotional support. We want to talk about the ones that actually are certified, and those can stay with the owner at all times. And I don't know, even though we don't have a whole bunch of people with us now, for those of you, I just want to add this in. Laura actually is a big animal fan, lover, and travels all over the world helping animals, and has, I guess last year it was, hey Loretta, last year Laura was in Chernobyl helping dogs over there. They spay them and neuter them and then try to get them foster homes, or not foster homes, real homes. And then she's been to Puerto Rico after the hurricane there and helped them. So, you know, caring for the pets during storms is something that's very close and dear to my heart. Alrighty, let's see. Okay, so then the other thing is, remember, if you're taking your pet to a shelter, you're going to need to get reserved space for the pet. You can't just walk in and drop them off, because we are in a storm and space is going to be limited. So you want to be sure that you call ahead. And also consider lodging expenses for your pets, because remember, you're going to need to have extra supplies for those. So as you're putting money aside for storm supplies, be sure that you allow for your pets. They're going to need some things too. And also remember to keep some small cash, small bills handy, because if electricity goes out and you need to run to the store, if there is a store that has electricity and you have to get out and go down there, the store is not going to be able to use the credit cards because they're not going to have the electricity as well. So be sure that you have some small bills on hand. And then switch your Social Security. Oh, wait a minute. Hang on a minute. Sorry. Okay. So also switch your Social Security or other regular benefits to electronic payments that are deposited directly in your account. And, oh, my pleasure, Laura. So that you want to be sure that you're not in a situation, I think back with Harvey, when those storms hit and people were, they're all flooded out. It would have been important for any checks that were being delivered in the mail to be electronically deposited. That way, in case, there's always going to be somebody out there that's going to be miserable and come through and steal things, or the postman may not be able to make it down your street and you may need your money and you may need to pay bills. So be sure that you have that taken care of. And then if you want to, what I did is I actually kind of identified, singled out preparations for the senior citizen, preparations for children, and preparations for pets. So I'm going to go over that briefly with you. And so you want to be sure for senior citizens that you have an additional emergency kit. Okay, so remember, if they're, I hate to say this, but if they're like my husband, God, I hope he's not watching. If they're like my, it's laughing at me. If they're like my husband, if he gets a scratch, he's a bleeder. I mean, you need more than just one or two Band-Aids. So you want to be sure you have that emergency kit covered on the gauze. And then the polysporin or neosporin or whatever it is that you use. And then even on the prescribed eyeglasses, if your seniors or anybody in the house wears eyeglasses, you may want to go ahead and be sure that you have an extra pair or something that could serve as an extra pair. I know that there's been so many times where I've gone out of town and I've left my contacts at home and all I have on me are a pair of reading glasses. And so it's always nice when you have extra ones and you stick them in your purse, and especially in cases like this. And then medical ID or bracelets. You want to be sure that if you've got one of those handy, that you use it or you wear it. You want to have a list of your medications and the dosage that you take. You want to be sure that all of that is written down and put somewhere. And then, of course, you want to have all of your medications in one of those. I had years ago, I'll never forget, I had a little girl working for me, and she told me I was officially old because one day I walked in with all of my medicines in a big baggie. So put all the medications in a big baggie and be sure that you have everything written down. An additional blanket would be nice. Because you never know, a blanket's always come in handy. And I'm going to tell you something else. This I thought was a really sweet gesture. My mother-in-law, oh my gosh, let's see, we've been married 37 years, so I want to say maybe 10 years into our marriage, she crocheted just on a nice open stitch some blankets, and she gave every one of the kids all one and said, put this in the trunk of your car in case of an emergency, or if you're ever going down the street and you see an accident, you see somebody hurt, or it's cold out and you see a homeless person who doesn't have enough clothes on, give them the blanket. So it never hurts to have an extra blanket in the trunk of your car. And then be sure that if you have any kind of medical conditions that require equipment, that you have that ready to roll, or a portable variety of it. Extra batteries for the equipment, because again, electricity may not be available. Be sure that you have your prescription cards and your insurance card, because wherever you go, if you have to get a refill, you don't know, you want to be sure you're not going to have to come up with that chunk of change, $200 or whatever, to get a refill on your prescriptions. And then your Medicare cards, you want to be sure you've got that with you. Also your contact list of your doctors and your relatives. You want to be sure you have all of that written down, and walking chair or walking stick and wheelchair, or the little walkers that the seniors use. And then I hate to say this, but incontinence products. I mean, that's important, okay? Moving on to children. Okay, so for children, additions to the emergency kit that the child's going to need. So think about things that happen when little ones get injured. So you want to be sure that you've got a few of those things in there to go ahead, the butterfly stitches or whatever. And then their medication, the diaper bag, the wipes, and car seat. Do not forget the car seat. That's a big deal. Their stuffed animals, whatever they have that is their warm fuzzy to make them feel good. And the toys again. Pack them 1 week's worth of clothing just to be on the safe side. And boy, I'll tell you what, again, 7 to 10 days, I kind of err towards the 10-day side of it. And then snacks. Oh goodness, who can do without snacks? I mean, not just kids. I'm a snackaholic. And their blankets and books and diapers. Do not forget their diapers. And then for pets, you want to be sure that you've got a copy of their papers and any other vaccinations that they've had. And people with getting the chips for the dogs, you want to be sure, double check if you can, that the chip is still there, so that in case, that it's easily accessible for people to read, because sometimes they slip down. And then, of course, the supply of water and food for them, and the appropriate size crate or kennel, if they're crated or kenneled, or if, who knows, you may have to evacuate. And then be sure that you have a non-spill water bowl and a non-spill food dish, the pet's medications and prescriptions, poop bags and litter. Don't forget the poop bags and litter box and the litter to go with it. Familiar items for them as well, some treats, their toys, a blanket for them, disinfectant, newspaper. You don't know if they're going to just whatever, because if they can't go outside, they're going to need someplace to go, and paper towels. One can never have enough paper towels. People laugh at me because I'm a paper towel fanatic. I have to have paper towels all over the place, but you never know. I mean, I spill a lot of things, so I always have to have them close by. I know it's an issue. I accept it. And they say that's the first part of identifying things, is knowing it and accepting it. And then, proof of ownership. If you can, bring something to prove ownership, just in case the animal gets outside. And I mean, I hate to say that, but just proof of ownership is important. Calming medicine or a thunder shirt. Those thunder shirts are amazing. And I think that most vets don't even like to give calming medicine, because I think they say that it makes the animal have anxiety even more so. And then some grooming supplies for your animal. That would be nice, because animals like to get brushed and petted, and if they get ear infections or something, you want to be able to get in there. Manual can opener. Do not forget the can opener. You're not going to forget the wine opener, so don't forget the can opener for the dog food. Flea, tick, and heartworm products. Be sure that you bring, because you don't know, I mean, depending on the time of the month, whenever you normally give them, you want to be able to keep them on that schedule, because at a time of a storm, that's when there's so many bacterias coming out, and it's such a chance for all those bugs and mosquitoes. And you don't want to have to deal with something like that. And then, of course, a pet first aid kit would be good. Even a little book on pet first aid, or first aid, not first aid. And then don't forget the pet's leash, harness, or a collar with the ID on it. That pretty much covers that portion of it. Next week, we're going to, actually, you know what, let's go ahead and cover during the storm, and then next week we're going to do after the storm, and then we'll be finished up on this whole segment. So during the storm, if you're still at home, or I'm kind of assuming that you're still at home, patrol the property continuously. Look for leaks. Look for windows that are seeping water or starting to get moist. Look for any fire or structural damage that could possibly be happening. And then be sure that if there's a lot of wind and a lot of storm coming through, be sure that you've got a safe place in the house that you can go. People talk about tornadoes and having a closet to go to. Even in a hurricane or snowstorm or whatever, you need a little safe haven to go into, because you never know if something is going to fly through the window. And some bad stuff that's happened over the years. And let's see. Also, don't forget, during a power failure, turn off the electrical switches to prevent reactivation before necessary. Again, the power surges, we want to be very, very careful of that. And then in case you are forced to evacuate the house, be sure that you identify where the shelter is that you're going to be going, so that in case you get separated from other members, that your family knows, and that person that you said you were going to stay in contact with, be sure that they know, so that outside family members know. and be sure that you, oxygen machine, the carriers, and all of that stuff, be sure that you've got that in a place where you can grab it to go, because you're going to need all of that stuff, just like you would need it at home. If you lost electricity and water and everything, you're going to need to grab that stuff to be on the go. If somebody's in a walker or wheelchair or walking stick, they can't walk without it, so you will need it. By any chance, if you're with people, you get separated, decide on a meeting place so that you can try to meet up with one another. And this, prior to going home, hopefully that if you get separated on the way over to wherever it is that you're going, that you can get brought back together once you get home. Now remember that if you go to a shelter, shelters do not like to provide personal health care. So be prepared for that, and be sure that whatever your group's needs will be, that you've got that covered. So toothbrush, toothpaste, mouthwash, eye drops, contact lens cleaning solution. Shut off the water to your home. Shut it off from the outside. The whole thing, shut it out so that there's no water going into the house, turn off all the power, and most of all, when you're leaving, be sure that you lock the doors. You've got the windows boarded up, be sure that you lock the doors. Okay, folks, I want to thank you so much for joining us today. I hope that you found this beneficial. Again, we will have these items available for you in a checklist form. In addition to that, when we finish up next week and we talk about after the storm, we're going to have all of those items and it'll be all together. So you can ask for them separately, or you can ask for them I was looking at Loretta. You can ask for them next week. I hope that you found this beneficial, and keep in mind that if you're needing to do real estate, or you're thinking about buying or selling, or you know somebody who's going to buy or sell a home or condo or land, think of us. We've got a group of agents here that have a lot of experience, and great group. We've got, my standards are high, so they're here ready to help you, ready, willing, and able. Any questions real estate, do not hesitate to call, text, or email us. We're here for you. And don't forget our favorite caterer in town, Cultivate. We just love them. Also want to give a shout out and thank Friendswood Development Company for hosting and sponsoring some mandatory continuing education classes last week and the week before. There's not a lot of places that offer free classes to the real estate agents anymore, and they did it. They brought out a coffee guy, great cappuccinos, a nice little breakfast, and we had a nice lunch and did 4 hours of Legal 1 and Legal 2. So thank you so much for sponsoring. And if anybody's interested in any kind of classes, becoming a realtor, anything, whatever you're interested in, if it's something that I can help you with, please do not hesitate to contact me. Thank you again so much. I look forward to seeing you next week. Have a good one.